Before I hand the mic to Stephanie Keene, who will be interviewing and starting the Q&A with Jennifer MacArthur, one of the producers on Who's Street, I just wanted to personally thank you and your team for the work that you put in to this film. Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Well, we did it for everybody here. So, thank you.
The access that you had to tell this story as the timeline progresses to now, oh, if you knew what I know now, what I knew then kind of thing, with this whole history and tapestry of the politics of Ferguson, we don't have anything to lose but our chains. These are our streets. And this is why we have BlackStar. So, Stephanie, I'm gonna let you do you.
Thank you. And I won't ask too many questions because I do want to leave time for the audience, and we do have limited time, and I'm sure the audience has a lot of wonderful questions. I'm going to move closer to you because I feel like we're far. So, even better. So, my notes are in my phone because this was my first time seeing the film, as well as most of the people who are here. And so I was sort of struggling with trying to be present, but also take notes and get stuff down.
It's a lot.
And so I'm gonna just choose from two questions. One of the things that stood out to me the most, and I think is just super present in shared Black experiences, as heavy and important and deep and timely as this film is, there were so many moments of laughter. Can you speak a little bit about what that means to you? I don't want to put too much meaning on it, but just the importance of laughter, and even the fact that there were just shared moments throughout the film where there was joy.
Well, before I answer that, I just want to first thank BlackStar for our Philadelphia premiere. And Mallory and her entire team. I hate to say I've only been to BlackStar one time beforehand, but you know, it's the New York Philly thing. We're like, really, I gotta come? But
now you fixed it.
But you know.
Now you know.
But the festival is dope, and I'm so glad to be here. But in terms of joy, I mean, I think it's part of our experience. It's part of being human, first of all. But it is also part of how we cope. It's part of how we choose to be present, even, and choose to be human, and choose to exert and to assert and to proclaim our humanity in the face of all the ways in which this society and really the world, because anti-Blackness is a world phenomenon, a worldwide phenomenon, how we choose to actually be present and show up and say that we're human and we're not going to let anyone or anything or any system take that away from us. Now, you know, that's not, I mean, not everyone responds in a joyful way. Not everyone finds humor. I mean, Tori is such a cut up and amazing throughout this film. But I think that it's critical if we're going to survive. It's critical if we're going to maintain. It's critical if we're going to connect. It's critical if we're going to continue to keep movement alive. Is to find other ways to express our humanity and to not let the pain of our situation not be stuck in anger, you know. But and in addition to joy, also, you know, one of my small criticisms of, I think, possibly this generation, and I say this because of so much how the digital space makes everything so immediate, is the ways in which we don't connect our anger to something that is beyond this moment, and don't connect our anger to something that's deeper. and understand that we're connected to a longer history and a longer trajectory, right? And I think the people who can do that can experience joy, you know? And that's part of the reason why when Michelle came up, I said, you know, this is my mentor. This is the reason why I made this film, because I wanted to express the connection that I have to my elders and the people who taught me and helped me understand the power and the value of film and the power of the Black image on film and how to connect to something deeper and longer and a history. So I think the joy is only really possible when you're able to connect your anger to something that's beyond yourself and beyond what you're feeling in the moment. And that helps you transcend it and make it into something powerful and potentially life-changing and changing of your community and your society. And I think that's what happened in St. Louis, you know?
Thank you for that. You can clap. It's okay. And again, I had so many other questions, but I'm gonna be,
Please.
I'm gonna share. So now I'm choosing what I want the next one to be. I guess I was wondering during the film, so again, beautiful and powerful and important, also difficult to watch. And I was really, in this strange way, proud of myself for holding it together until the very end, when the babies were included in the chant, and that was probably just me having held it in too long anyway, and then it, you know, just finally got the best of me. But
I cried the moment I walked in. I sat down and was like, I've seen this film a million times,
and I'm still gonna cry.
But I'm still gonna get emotional.
So I'm wondering for the crew, for the production team, for the directors, what was that process like making the film, right? So if it's hard for us to sit and watch the film and process it and have all these emotions, and hopefully, you know, we were, a bunch of us in the hallway were saying earlier that BlackStar is like a family reunion. So folks are in here with people that you know and love, and I hope everyone is doing something tonight and beyond to take care of yourself. But so I'm just wondering, what was that like for the crew in going through this process of making the film?
It was a very emotional and intense experience, and I think, you know, there are different layers and levels at which people that participated in making the film were involved. So you know, the production team, I think, you know, talking to Lucas, the cinematographer, and sort of talking through with him what his experience was of this, and you know, essentially in so many ways, and a few people have caught this, that this is very much a war movie, right? And you know, him being out on the front lines with the camera and tear gas flying around, and you know, the team was arrested and jailed multiple times. You know, we had a great story consultant, Carol Dysinger, that came to work with us. And you know, we had talked to a number of different people to sort of help us shape the film, but she ended up being the perfect choice because not only does she teach at NYU, and she works with young people, and you know, the filmmakers are like 26 and they're babies, okay? They don't have this. But she also is making a trilogy of war films in Afghanistan, and immediately saw, when we showed a cut of the film, that was a lot messier and crazier, and people were like, she got exactly what we were trying to do. And she was like, you're making a war movie. And I'm like, yes, that's what we're doing. And I think that sort of, you know, beyond the team, that's a part of this in a way that we're not fully comprehending what this experience was like for a community, for a city in America that was essentially an occupied city with tanks and you know, people with machine guns and tear gas being thrown at them. And I can tell you right now, if you go to St. Louis and you talk to the people in St. Louis, most of them are suffering from some form of PTSD. And I would say that that's also true for the team. I think we've all, it was a very intense emotional experience, knowing the people in the film, going through this footage, making choices and decisions about, you know, and somebody brought this up, I think maybe it was Yabo in the cultural appropriation panel earlier today about, you know, the process of filmmaking and the process of editing, that you're really developing a characterization of people. You're selecting pieces of what you see on the camera, and you're telling an audience who these people are. You're shaping who they are. And that is a really heavy thing to do. That responsibility to a community and to individuals who have gone through an experience like this. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're all still emotionally grappling with it quite a bit.
Thank you. We will take it to the audience at this point.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Asantua Nkrumah Toure. I first want to thank you very much for the film. And I tell you, quite honestly, if Mama Sonia Sanchez wasn't sitting here, I'd be a cussing church sister right now. But anyway, because I know a lot of people in this film personally, so it really got to me. But I think for those of you who are longtime residents of Philadelphia, the police department here in Philadelphia for the last 20 to 30 years makes the mafia look like Boy Scouts. So I think for the filmmakers who are in the room, please consider making a film about police brutality and police terrorism in this city, going back to the 60s, going back to even before Rizzo and during Rizzo and after. That would be a great story as well, because some people are still alive in this city and have the scars to prove it. Also, I would just say I'm part of a campaign called Justice for Tyree Carroll, a young brother who was beaten up by 20 police officers in April of 2015, and we still have not received justice for him and his family. So if there are any high school or college students with the energy and creativity to want to work on a long-time, ongoing campaign for justice for Tyree Carroll and his family, please see me after this. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the audience? Two more questions.
I'd just like to say thank you for this film. It was beautiful. I just saw Detroit last night, and this film with Detroit is like night and day. Detroit wants to destroy a movement. Your film wants to inspire and sustain one. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
People have
Okay,
questions?
so two more. Thank you for that.
Questions?
My name is Kayla. I wanted to ask, as filmmakers, we saw a shot where the memorial was being taken down, and there were a bunch of people, you know, with just cameras standing around, you know, not doing much. And I know a lot of filmmakers here have that same question. Did your filmmakers, the videographers, whoever was on the scene, did they ever feel the need or the pressure to intervene while they were filming? Like, I know there's always a challenge of, I need to capture this event, and I feel like capturing it will be a lot more helpful than me inserting myself. But did you ever have situations in which, you know, they were just like, you know, I have to put the camera down, I have to, you know, go in and do anything? And what were the results of that kind of intervention?
So one thing that's not clear, and I'm glad it isn't, from the film is that this is obviously, I mean, we had an incredible cinematographer, Lucas Alvarado Ferrar, who shot, you know, most of that very intense footage that you see on the front lines and the interviews and things like that with our principals. But there are actually something like 35 to 40 different pieces of footage that exist in this film from citizen journalists, as well as you know, the news footage, right? So this film is really a collective effort in the sense of we worked with people, you know, we found footage on the ground to fill out and to expand the story and to really get the sense of what it was like for people on the ground. And I think the reason why it feels as authentic, I think, as it does is because so many different people shot this film. So to your question, you know, I don't exactly know the answer to that. with our crew, with our principals, Lucas and Chris Renteria, you know, no, they filmed and didn't try to get involved. And you know, I think there's always a sense of wanting to intervene and to be involved. But I think there was an understanding that what this was and what people were trying to do, and they were trying to, you know, record something really critical and important for posterity. And so that impulse was really tempered by, you know, thinking of a you know, bigger picture of what we wanted to achieve down the road. But you know, one little piece of fun thing that probably no one cares about, but being a producer, this is, you know, my thing, is that, you know, in order to try to make this as seamless as possible, we did a lot of work with, you know, in post-production in trying to make the footage of all these, you know, imagine, you know, you're dealing with 30 different citizen journalists, people who, you know, are not professional cinematographers or anything. They don't really know what the hell they're doing. So trying to put that together and tie it in with Lucas's footage was a challenge, and a lot of that was done through choices that were made around, you know, fading material, changing the color schemes, blending things together so that it looked as seamless as possible. And creating, you know, some differences between the memories that people were having versus the stuff that was happening in the present, and, you know, changing the color schemes and making things brighter so that when you got to the end of the film, you were in a much more alive, present moment, and the visuals, the colors of everything sort of, you know, dictated that, helped hopefully help people sort of get into that space. So, you know, as somebody who's been, you know, working in documentary for a long time and trying to push the field toward an aesthetic and a directing kind of philosophy that, you know, brings in human rights values, brings in citizen journalism. For me, this was one of the first films that really, contemporary films that really sort of embodied those choices and that philosophy, and I think it makes a difference in what you see, you know, and I think because of that, people didn't stop. People didn't, you know, people were freaked out in a lot of the circumstances and just couldn't believe what they were seeing, so they understood that they had to keep the camera going.
Thank you. Very moved by your film, documentary, and I was wondering, are you targeting any specific audiences or trying to, you know, distribute the film, the documentary in any particular way? And then are you also receiving any pushback or resistance from what was shown in the film by folks that maybe think that the message is something that is insightful or negative towards the police, and maybe in particular in academia? I'd be interested in, you know, wondering if what the channels are that you're pushing the film.
So for us, the choice around how to distribute the film was really critical, and as somebody who came out of being, you know, mentored in such a way to push me toward distribution, my mind's eye has always been in that space. So a big part of this film was about, one, correcting the narrative about what happened, two, correcting the narrative about who these people were, and that narrative took place in the mainstream media, in big mass, you know, conversation, and it existed online and all these things, but it was, as you can see, you know, we took all this footage from, we fair used all this footage from these news outlets, purposefully fair used it so it looked crappy as compared to our beautiful footage. Like, that was also a choice, right? You do those things, those are subtle, maybe. I'm just giving up all the, I'm like, let me tell you about how we did this thing. But, so for us, the distribution was, the choices that we made around distribution were really important. We wanted to situate this film and what we were trying to say in the same spaces in which the incorrect narrative was perpetrated. So it was important for us for this film to be as commercially viable and as in the mainstream as possible. That's why, you know, we spent $100,000 on music licensing and got, you know, the songs that were in here. That's why we did the certain kinds. I know people, I saw Dewana shake her head like, woo. I saw it. Yes, it was a lot of money, but it makes a difference in how people perceive and accept your film and what it means. And that's just real talk to filmmakers. And it's not critical for everyone, but for us, this is how we saw this as a corrective narrative to the BS that the news media has said for 2 years about what happened out there, which also, by the way, you know, Darren Wilson eventually, which is something that people aren't really, a lot of people aren't really aware of, but Darren Wilson eventually came out this spring and admitted that his testimony about what had happened was not true. So just the fact that people in here went, oh, lets me know that that information has not made it out yet, right? So, so we sold this film to Magnolia Pictures. I worked with one of the sort of more prestigious publicists in the documentary film space, Nancy Willen, and brought Submarine on board as our sales representative. And I knew that having that kind of team around us, around me, would signal to the field the kind of film that we were trying to put out there, that this was a commercially viable film, that this was something that needed to be out in that kind of space. So, you know, we sold the film to Magnolia. It will be in movie theaters. It opens in a limited release in movie theaters August 11th in 15 different markets. Yes. I know Michelle is going to correct me if I'm wrong, because she is like the brain and the memory of all distribution things. But, you know, I don't know that many other documentary films that have been directed by a black woman, produced by a black woman, opened Sundance, and sold to a major theatrical distributor. If you can name another one, please let me know. And that was an intentional strategy from the beginning. We didn't know that we were going to open Sundance, but we definitely targeted that because we understood what it meant to be in that space, because we wanted this film to be discussed and talked about in the very spaces in which they lied about us, and they lied on us. And it wasn't about, I mean, a little ego, a little hubris, I ain't gonna lie, but it was more about that. So I also believe that black people are gonna come out to movie theaters and see this film. And I, as much as I love public broadcasting, and I've come through public broadcasting and worked in public broadcasting, I also felt strongly that this was not the kind of film for public broadcasting, that black folks, the black folks that we wanted to reach, were gonna see this film in a place like Netflix or in movie theaters. We also felt very strongly that a communal viewing experience is really critical for something like this that's so heavy and emotional, and just being in a room with a black audience just for the last 30 minutes of watching and hearing y'all laugh and go and all the things at the right places, I went, yes! So, and that, you know, that filled my heart with joy, because I knew that we made a film that resonated for people. So if this was some other story and some other thing, I would have come up with a different kind of strategy. This is not the strategy I would suggest for every film and every film I work on. But for this in particular, for what we were trying to do, for what this film meant to us and what we feel like it can mean to black people and to our country, to correct the lies of the last 2 years, it needed to be in that commercial space.
Thank you. I was just reminded by Nahad that in the film guide, there is a one-on-one interview with Sabaah and Damon in the film guide, so that you can additionally with Jennifer's input, get a more rounded picture, as Jennifer reminded you that it is going out on August the 11th. You need to speak the film up as you go out of here.
We do. I mean, the fact of the matter is we still do need the word of mouth. We still need the support of people. We need you to get out and to get people, you know, the butts and seats is a real thing. We picked August, you know, we encouraged our distributor to go with August 11th because, you know, it's in commemoration of Mike Brown's death. He was shot and killed on August 9th. All these things mean something. And yes, and Black August, yes, yes indeed. I don't know if Magnolia knows about Black August, but I'm trying. But are amazing, by the way. You know, the big reason why we felt very comfortable going with them is because they distributed I Am Not Your Negro. So please get out there, tell your friends, get to the movie theater. We need your support. We need you to tell other people to get out. Yes. Trailers on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's everywhere. You can go to whostreetsfilm.com and it'll tell you what cities it's going to be playing in and how to get tickets. You can buy tickets right now. You should do that right now. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming.
Yes, thank you both.
So very
Stephanie
much.
Keene.
Congratulations. Well done.
Jennifer MacArthur, thank you so much.